Oh, to be calling you a radical, that was Tim Martin just on the phone. So we're tracking, of course, the salmon. 36 salmon in the Coal River hatchery. That's on the Rogue. It's the biggest hatchery in the world. One osprey is made it from Brazil. One. He keeps track. 36. So they're reporting 49,000 for the year on the Columbia. Now, 36 on the Rogue. Pre-Fukushima, 146,000. From 144 to 36. Okay, let's talk the Columbia. 650,000 spring Chinook salmon just 5 years ago. They go to sea for 5 years. 2016 to 49,000. Can you do math? That's what we call a fucking radical fucking something's up outliner from hell. So somebody asked me to do this video. A lot of people, I've been doing some videos on the history of Ogden and the panty painters. So why is Ogden named Ogden? Let's get down here. Dumpke, by the way, that's going to be called the Dumpke, Dr. Dumpke. Was married to the Wattises. Yeah, the Wattiskers, that Wattis. Yeah, he's dead, by the way. So, you know, the Browning gun was, the Browning fortune's all still here. Utah, I just came back from down there. We were down there. I just met some people down there. That's the Brownings. You know, their war profiteer money's still here, you know. Inherited wealth is all the rage in fucking this country now when it used to be taboo. How did they make their money? Don't go to Europe and mention their fucking whoa, selling to both sides. Shh, Kevin, well, name a Browning. Why not? Fucking, he invented it right there. Probably the greatest evil day. Whoa, fuck, that machine gun. Mowing down 1800 French a fucking day. So how's it named Ogden? Peter Skeen Ogden never set foot in fuck now. By the way, Peter Skeen Ogden, speaking of Oregon, right there, fucking Oregon City, Oregon, that's where he lived. He was a killer, by the way. All the fur fucking rapers were killers. You know, who's the set? Wasatch. Wasatch means, it's French for hide. The first, it'll be 200 years. We'll get to the monuments right here. So the first, we're coming up on the 200 years, you know, the hole up in the valley. He might have set foot there, but highly doubt it. He was in Cache Valley, Cache, French. So they were in here raping the fur, robbing the fur, getting the fur for the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. They ran an ad, Ashley ran an ad in the Missouri paper. And most of these guys were, you know, war deserters, derelicts, you know, 1820s. There were all kinds of just fucking. There's Peter Skeen Ogden right there. So let's get a video. Peter Skeen Ogden never set foot in Ogden. Never. Fur trade. So my line, I come from the Ike Potter line on the one side. Oh, he was here early, really early. Porter Rockwell killed him, Colville jail. Hung him up upside down. He spoke all 5 tribes languages. So this was called Brownsville, right? So when the Mormons first get here, they just claim it was theirs. They had no name. It was Shoshone land. So they get here in 1847, 1848, the Mormons. So let's walk across this way. The old Blue Door. Let's go to the Blue Door. Yeah, remember the Blue Door girls? Oh, I do. Fuck, what jams. This was all artisans here. This was the last great artisan city. You had great shoemakers, dressmakers, hat makers, tailors. I remember that. I'll try to find this photograph of me and my twin sisters taken right over there in his studio. One of the great photographers when we were little. You know, and so the shoemakers, the dressmakers. Oh, I remember my first suit, hand tailored, made. People used to come from all over the world to shop in this town. You know, before the Ogden Mall was there. The Ben Lomond, Archie Bigelow was a clerk. By the way, he robbed the fucking Huntsacres. Oh yeah, and then split town. Aaron Eccles bought it. That's why it's named Ben Lomond Peak. They're from the slums of Glasgow, Scotland. Yeah, there's the Masonic Temple. I hung from a rope and hand chisel, put that single-handedly. So let's talk about why is it named Ogden? Peter Skeen Ogden, he used to like to take the natives that he didn't obey him, and he used to like put them on a stake and cut their limbs off in front of other ones. Teach them, like, that's how evil that motherfucker was. So this was called Brownsville. Now, Captain Brown was a big-time crook. Mormon battalion. A lot of Browns still here, a lot of bloodlines here, including the wife of the person I did that for. So, they were here for a long time. So, 1824, 1825, 1826, John Weber, something rotten in Denmark. He was from Denmark. So, you know, Bernard de Voto, Famake Brody, we can go all this infamous, I call it blood, by the way. In Europe, they call it blood. The old Orpheum Theater that they collapsed, throwing stuff out of the top of that window. The Orpheum, that great grand, they knocked down accidentally on purpose. The Arlington, they burnt down and built the Egyptian, they burnt down accidentally on purpose. So let's get here. So, Brownsville. Captain Brown, full no. So the Mormons get here, they claim the whole western United States is theirs. They called it Deseret. Now, of course, the trains met in 69. Oh, that's a great story I've got about being out there. So, now, Matt Godfrey put this here. Why would they put this here in the center of this? And I'm all for firefighters work their ass off in this town because they're paramedics. I'm all for this, but it's in the wrong place. This is Lauren Farr. Oh, don't even be going on that dude. Jedediah Smith, one of the first ones. Jedediah Smith, Jim Bridger, which some historians say 1824. John Weber said there was more fur here than anywhere. So, but let's get to the beginning. So, Captain Brown, Mormon Battalion, Abraham Hunsaker, the force, my grandpa, Abe the Fourth. So, Jefferson Hunt up in the valley, speaking of the Howard. Liberty's named after his son. His son was named Liberty. Mormon Battalion goes, Mormon Battalion goes. So he gets here July 29th, 1847. Okay? My grandfather's in Old Town. You know, they marched down to fight on the border on the war. Polk, you know, they jumped that border. They went all the way to Mexico City. The only thing they accomplished, they got Santa Anna's prosthetic leg. You know, Taylor, the country was aghast that Polk invaded to Mexico. They raised the American flag in Mexico City. They're like, fuck, this is a... Well, by the way, they wrote in their journal when they got to San Diego, when they got to Mexico, when they got to the other place, they thought they were in heaven. Don Quixote and Balco. So Captain Brown full well know that the tree ceremony in Monterey, California, which that Monterey, California, the old Pacific capital, was the capital of Mexico from 1821 to 1848. This was Mexico. Kicked the Spaniards out, Father Escalante and Balco. So they claimed it's Spain, the map makers. Americo Vespucci, you need to learn to speak American. Americo Vespucci never set fucking foot on this fucking land. He was from Florence, Italy, Italiano. He spoke Spanish and Italiano. So, Captain Brown, oh, what a crook. There's rumor he was murdered by a Brown, and that's all rumor. So, Captain Brown, full willingly, says, no, look, I have all these land grants, deeds from the Mexican king. Full well know that the war and the border had changed, and Congress had changed the border to where it exists today, and that this became the United States. It was no longer mine. Full knowing that. He sold grants all over, everywhere, all over here to people unknowingly. He was a mega crook. They still own land to this day all over from Captain Brown. Crook, he knew it. He didn't own anything. He didn't own one thing. 1848. Because he's like, fuck you, the Mormons don't honor that Polk Treaty. We're not, they were flag burners, by the way. They're like, fuck you, this was Mexico, this is ours now, it's Deseret. But he says he had the land grants from the Mexican king and he sold them all over. Of course, the United States later, many years later, come in here and seized all that ground, including the Mormon temple in Salt Lake, and, you know, put them all in prison at Sugar House, and, you know, made them negotiate it buy back. So, why Ogden? The first fur trader really here was Jim Bridger, Jim Bridger was just a kid, Jedediah Smith. Well, they couldn't name it Smith because confused, because that's Main Street. Smith Street, who I just came off of. Joseph Smith Street is Jefferson Avenue. Young Street is Grant. Well, why would they name that street Kiesel? I thought they just, well, Kiesel's the guy that kicked him off. King Kiesel named him after himself. So, King Mayor Kiesel, King Mayor Godfrey, King Mayor Codwell. I used to work for fucking Madsen, he wasn't a king. He didn't pay himself anything. You know, now they're 160 grand a year, I think, and this is all Godfrey's doings. By the way, the quote they put on there, Reagan never said that. Reagan never said that. And so, I'm all for, you know, the firefighters. How many firefighters have lost their life in line of duty in Ogden, Utah? None that I know of, but I don't know. And I love the firefighters because they're paramedics here and what they have to go through. They work hard. And so they're not like New York City, you know, we got to wash their feet. They don't do anything. They cook dinner. I have friends that are in New York City Fire Department. They said they haven't fought a fire in, you know, the 20 years they've worked there. So, why? So it was called Brownsville. Well, they found out he was a crook, whatever. They got to change the name. We're going to name it Bridger. Well, I was like, fuck you, we already got back. Which married Chief Washaki's daughter, which Chief Washakie was baptized by Brigham Young. The railroads came, they meet. That was in Corinne. This was a mog, it was all marsh block. Bridger. Can't name a Smith, that confused with Joseph Smith. Bridger. No, what about Miles Goodyear? He was the first one here. He was the first fur trader here, if you're going to name it after one of the killers. And they were all killers. You know, James Fremont, the high school's name, James Fremont was such a mass murderer and even killer, even the United States Cavalry took his stuff off. Let's name it Fremont Island. Let's name it Fremont High School. They want to name Weber County Fremont. And I stood up and I says, well, why don't we name West Weber? John Weber, something rotten in the New Denmark. So why did they agree on Peter Skeen Ogden, who was a killer, just like Fremont, just like fucking, you know, the Bear River Massacre on about, just like Connors, just like fucking all of these, the fur traders, you know, the Ashley. Ashley just ran an ad in the fucking paper. These were derelicts for the most part. Uneducated, fucking derelict, young kids. You know, they just answered a fucking ad in the newspaper and come out here and they were killers. Do not kid yourself. They slaughter Shoshone, not just you. And I see how Darren Perry's just redone the thing for Chief Tarragona. How many videos have I done out there? How much work have I done? You know, of course I get no credit for anything. So, how did they just land on Ogden when he never set foot here? It's a terrible fucking name. He lived in Oregon City, Oregon. He was a mass murderer, killer, just like Fremont. You know, just like Kit Carson. Remember the monument down there? The tree fell through it. I left it there. They don't give a fuck. You know, his cross. They were killers. They were killers. You know, and just like Andrew Jackson, he used to call himself the great Indian killer. Just like Cuss gonna run for fucking president, you gotta go kill some natives. They didn't call them natives, they called them Indians. I thought, Indians? What a slur. Indians are from India. Yeah, well, that's what he had to tell them when he went back to the Queen, because he didn't really make it to India. He just stole kids. That's what they did here, little soldier. So, what are they gonna name this? You know? Gotta name it after, I guess, so. Peter Skeen Ogden had just settled a major fight up on the Snake River near the Oregon, near where Boise is now, actually quite a bit above there, where Ontario, Oregon, it crosses there, the Oregon Island. He just settled a major skirmish. It's called Wall Avenue, the original. Wall went all the way along Wall. It was a mud wall, dirt, rock, adobe wall, up 28th Street, clear up to where Madison is today. Down, it was a giant, you know, it was a wall that never completed to keep them out. And, you know, their land, they come steal it, then keep them out, you know, just kill them. So, and again, Peter Skeen Ogden, when they were being upskirted, he used to like to nail them on a pole and cut their limbs off. That's perfect, you know, being Ted Bundy fucking bailed out of that jail on a murder charge. Fuck here in Blood Ogden. Fucking place is so hardcore in Art Deco decay. So he had settled a skirmish. So the fight's on what we're going to name it. You know, people, why they didn't name it Goodyear is beyond me. If you can name it after one of them, he was the first one here. You know, Ike Potter, you know, he was here. You know, Jim Bridger as a kid. The movie Revenant, oh yeah, it's right there. That's where the, you know, Fort Beneficiary, there was a fort before that. And that's what they were. Weber said there was more fur, more birds, more, this was all marsh, all of it. All of it. Speaking of the Ogden Mall, I used to do that, repair that for the company in La Jolla. You know, and it used to shift all the time. And these artisan shops, they were shoemakers, they were dressmakers, they were hat makers. This is the most beautiful. People used to come from all over the world to shop here. It was incredible. I lived it, you know. It was amazing. Then they tore it down and built the Ogden Mall. And then they turned down the Ogden Mall and built what this junction piece of shit we have over there now. So children behave. That's what they say when we're together. Things that we say. Because we're running just as fast as we can. Holding on to one another's hands. Yeah, Tiffany filmed that there. The old Ogden Mall. It was cool, you know, and they couldn't remodel. It's a piece of shit what they've got there now. I mean, they just tear down buildings. They just faking it. You know, it's disgusting. I saved the Masonic Temple. They were going to tear it down. I hung from a rope and hand chiseled it 7 days a week, 12 hours a day for 4 months. Couldn't be saved. Big pits in it. People still don't know how I did. Bernie Allen, Randy Richards, you know, and the Browns promised me they'd put a plaque on the wall. Of course they didn't. That's what this town does. They just fuck me. You know, I just fucking go to the cemetery and see the first Whitey's fucking last name. Little soldier put a fucking arrow through his heart when they killed Chief Cherokee in retaliation. And he was his friend. You take our elder, we take your elder. Well, the elder was Ralph Blanch. My grandma said they showed up at the cemetery in full fucking gear, had the full ceremony. My dad's buried right next to Little Soldier fought back. He lived here, not Spanish Fork, where they were stealing the children, the Spanish invaders, you know, the fur rapers, the French. They were all French here. Est-ce que vous parlez français? No? Oui. Blanche? Why not name it Blanche? French for white? No, Blanche really doesn't mean French and white. Blanc is the male version. Blanche with an E. Blanche means to boil, to fucking turn fucking white. That's what they did to the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, the Wattis is here, Dumpkey, fucking the Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate, the War Profiteers, the Brownings. Why not name it after the killers, the Brownings? So into both sides in fucking World War I, World War II. And every time you see one of these families, you think, God, they got all this money, this, that, these restaurants, these bars, this thing. You always dig in. The mother was always a Browning, the Great War Profiteers. They never fucking made a gun here. There'll be no war profiteering in World War I like there was World War II. That's FDR. He's looking right down at the fucking Browning clan and fucking Mariner Eccles, the Federal Reserve. I knew Mariner Eccles personally. Fucking World Bank hatch right over there. The building's been vacant for 30 years. One of the first security banking. What a fucking city. Things that we say. These aren't even pictures of Ogden. The pictures of Ogden are most. Coin Harvey's fucking elephants right there in front of the Ben Lomond. Yeah, Coin Harvey lived here. Who's he? Yeah, he came from Arkansas. He lived here, but born and raised here. I hate the fucking name. The fact that his name. He never set foot here. Never set foot here. Brownsville. What a terrible fucking crook that fucker was. So people are like, let's go back to the early when they first got here. Weber County, Weber State. I went to West Weber Elementary. I went to Weber High. I went to Weber State. Something rotten in Denmark. This is a great story. So Bernard Devoto, who's from here, name it Devoto. Fuck, why not? How about Fama K. Brody? Fuck, Fama K. Why not? Why not? Fucking. So Devoto's born and raised in Ogden. I was just doing some work on. We were talking about Byron Scott. Yeah, the Laker. He was born here till he's 10. That's Hall's son. You know, the All-American basketball player at Weber State. Well, what? You know, but that's a whole different. You know, he lived here till he's 10. But so many historic figures came from this fucking crazy place.